Vámonos! Hey you, and welcome to my channel. My name is Tina and my aim is to improve your drawings just like others have done for me when I just started out. In today's video I just want to give you some quick pointers on how to take pictures of your artworks, so you can have photographs that are as beautiful as your art pieces themselves. Now, I don't have a degree in photography, but I was taking photographs long before I started drawing. I actually still enjoy taking photographs. When we go out for a walk, oftentimes I have my camera at hand, sometimes to the annoyance of my wife. I am not comparing myself to a professional photographer. I would definitely need to work on developing my skills some more, but being so into photography has given me two advantages. Number one, I've taken quite a few photographs that I can use as my own reference pictures. This comes quite handy when it comes to wildlife. Let me show you some of the pictures that I'm really proud of. At the moment, I'm also including some of these reference pictures in my monthly newsletter. So if wildlife art is your thing, make sure you go and subscribe using the link in the description below. Besides using my own pictures as a reference, I also have a better understanding of how to take good photographs of my own art pieces, which I am more than willing to share with you. When it comes to taking pictures, you can already divide this into two categories. The first half involves every action you can take right up to when you snap the picture. The second half is everything that comes after this, and by this I mostly mean editing. In other words, cropping, lighting, saturation, and so on. But the importance of the first part is so that the second part doesn't need much attention. In this video, I won't be focusing on the second part, but I will go through a lot that might help you when it comes to the first part. The reason why I won't discuss the second part here is that, for one, this video would have been a lot longer, and two, it's better to get a good grip on the basics first. I've put together a few guidelines that can help you when it comes to photographing your artwork. So let's get started so you will be taking photographs like a pro. Number one, let's talk lighting. By far this is the most important aspect, which is why I put it on top of the list. The best lighting you can have is indirect sunlight. That is why you always want to shoot your work in a room with plenty of windows and natural light. If it matches your vibe and style, you could also take the picture outside as long as it's cloudy or overcast. Actually, the cloudy day will also give the best results inside. The reason why this is better is because the clouds act as a giant diffuser to the sunlight, so they make shadows appear much softer. When you take your picture, always make sure that you are not directly between your piece and the light source. Sometimes you might miss a small shadow that you cast on it, so to try and avoid this, just wiggle a bit as you are about to take the picture and see if you notice any faint shadows. If you've got some daylight to work with, but it's not enough, maybe the following can help you out. Make sure that the area surrounding your artwork is as white as possible. This way, stray light bounces back from all sides, illuminating your art piece some more. And in case you have to take your picture in a darker room, you could create a similar effect by having someone hold up a piece of white material to bounce some of the stray light onto your art. For this you could use a bedsheet, some white foam board or white cardboard. If you haven't got this beautiful lighting to your disposal, I apologize, but the only way to work around this is to get daylight lamps. Luckily for us, nowadays you can get these relatively cheap on websites like Amazon. The lights you need will depend on the size of your pieces. If you are going to take most of your pictures from pieces that you hang on the wall or just larger pieces in general, you are best to get yourself a set of two lights. If your pieces are on the smaller side, another thing you could do is the following. I used this standard desk lamp I had lying around, and I just bought this daylight bulb. Now, finding this bulb was a bit of a challenge, but in the end I found one, so I'm sure you can too. These two together also won't break your bank. For me, this was perfect to get my lighting right for the smaller pieces I worked on. So ideally, this is how you want your lighting to be. Now, while it's always good to get the right kind of lighting, don't worry if it's not perfect. Just do the best you can. A small side note, if you paint with texture and you want to make sure this shows up in your photograph, you need to add a light source on the side. There is actually a term for this, and this is called a raking light. By adding the light on the side, you will enhance the details. Now, I would love to show you an example, but I don't paint with texture, so I can't do that. But if you want to learn more about this, just search for raking light. Number two, hang or put your artwork out properly. You don't want to randomly put your art piece somewhere or just have it lean against the wall. To help illustrate the difference in look, I'll visually show you the difference in a few examples. In the first one, I just want my drawing to be the center focus. This picture could, for example, serve as an entry to an art competition. This example clearly shows that less is sometimes more. In this second example, I have my artwork hanging nicely on the wall versus just having it stand against the wall. In this case of standing against the wall, I also make the picture worse by having a downward angle. And for the last example, I'm going to show you the opposite of the less is more approach. In this example, you want to create a beautiful scene to invoke emotion. You can clearly see that the picture where I don't add a scene is way too empty, making it look worse than the good picture. And these were some examples to illustrate that where you put your artwork can make a tremendous difference in how it looks. So even though this one might seem easy, it's worth mentioning. Moving on to the third tip, and that is how you angle your camera. This is much more important than which camera you actually use, at least if we are only talking about photographs to post and share online. For those of you interested, at the end of the video, I talk a little bit more about my camera that I use, and I'll show you what kind of a difference that makes. The result might come as a surprise. Back to the angle then. When it comes to photography, it is very important to have the middle of your piece parallel to where your camera will be. I'll have a downward angle, an upward angle, and a parallel angle so you can visually see what I mean. Obviously, I have exaggerated the bad angles, but even at lesser angles, the parallel picture is still going to be the best picture. The fourth tip, you want to avoid blurriness. You want the picture of your art piece to be as impeccable as possible. To avoid blurriness, all you actually need to do is make sure your camera is not moving. The easiest way to achieve this is to put your camera on a tripod. In case you don't have a tripod, you can always make it work by resting your camera on a table or on another sturdy surface. You could also do this with your mobile phone. If none of this is an option, another thing you could do is to lean your body against the wall or something else that is sturdy. This creates more stability in your body, which in return helps lessen shaky hands. Tip number 6. Think about your scene. I've mentioned this a few times already, but dressing up your photograph can be a great idea. After all you want your art piece to invoke is emotion. Let's look at the earlier examples I showed you to illustrate this again. Now, this doesn't look very pleasing now, does it? So let's make this better. Now this looks better in my opinion. You should just be yourself and dress up your photograph in any way that you want. Oftentimes it's nice if you add something that makes people recognize you, but you shouldn't worry about this too much. Just think about different props you can use in your photographs. For example, one style you can never go wrong with is to add your materials next to your piece. You can also play around with the angle. I know I said to be aware of the angle before, but in this case, you don't mind it if the proportion of your piece get a little bit skewed. You're going for a more expressive style of photography, and playing around with the angle can actually give it a little bit more drama. Good drama, that is. And that's it for my tips to help you get better pictures. Remember, in this video I didn't go to the nitty-gritty of editing, which clearly can help enhance your photograph. I also didn't go into the different features that you use from your camera. For example, being aware of the ISO on your camera is important, but since most people shoot with their smartphone, I also left this out of the video. But before I go, I do want to show you the same artwork shot with 3 different cameras to prove that you don't have to invest in the most expensive equipment. The first one is taken by my Canon 70D SLR camera. This is an expensive camera. And the second one is with my Sony Alpha 6400 system camera. Again, this is also a rather expensive one. And then the third one was shot just using my wife's smartphone. Now, depending on the model, some cameras will be better than others, but in general, cameras on smartphones will be more than good enough. So remember that you don't need the most expensive cameras on the market to take good photographs. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to give it a thumbs up. And I also have a lot of other videos on my channel that might interest you. So definitely check them out. Next Friday, I'll be back with another video. See you then. And in the meantime, I hope you have a great week. Esta película es muy divertida. Divertido. La película, divertida. Actually, yeah, I've taken quite a few photographers. I've taken quite a few photographers. Yeah. Oh, my wife just told me I look like an alien. This was yeah, cold coffee.